Wowee, what a game that was on Wednesday, when the University of Hawaii returned to non-conference play and had one of their best performances against a Division II opponent out of the same state in at least 3 years. But man, that had to have been one of the most energetic performances I had ever seen from the squad against a D2 opponent like Hilo or HPU. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but first off, guys, remember, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I will have one up later today or maybe tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, let's get into this. Okay, here's my banner. UH wins big over Hilo, a full 40-minute effort. This team will make a bunch of statements. Now, I will say, though, during non-conference play, with all these big wins over their opponents, this is not necessarily a scrappy schedule. I thought there were going to be quite a bit of teams here that the university had scheduled that would have given this UH men's basketball squad some headaches. But so far, the only one that really has was Arizona State. And that was the one game that I kind of felt got away from them in a big way. Because the Oregon game, they proved they could compete. And despite the lousy shooting night then, I saw something in this team. And especially since they're playing with the proverbial heart on their sleeves with Tanner Cuff out for the season with a knee injury. But he does look forward to coming back and wearing the UH uniform when UH moves to the Mountain West next season. And having Tanner Cuff over is going to be a big holdover because although this does mean a new conference, any guy who decides to stay on the roster is a huge holdover, especially with moving to a new conference. But that's for another video. UH wins big over Hilo, and as you can see by the score here, it was 98-46, UH with the big win. And I have to say, winning by 52 points is one of the biggest margins that I have seen in a number of years. Now, after looking at HawaiiAthletics.com, their biggest margin, University of Hawaii I'm talking about, you'd have to go all the way back to January of 1972 when they defeated Redlands by 57 points. 57. And I have to say, it's too bad I wasn't around then because back then that team was probably the cream of the crop then. And this was maybe a little before the Fabulous Five, or maybe that was the Fabulous Five. I'm not sure. But either way, the Fabulous Five was before my tenure. My own Fabulous Five was seeing the 2015-16 team win the Big West, go all the way to the dance, win a game, but only to fall to Maryland in the second round. So that was unfortunate then, but still, I would give this game an A+. UH got out to an early 14-4 lead and never looked back from then on. And I got to say, there are two guys out there that I thought really grew up. One of them was the reserves. The guy that I thought really grew up in this game, and even the last couple for that matter, Isaac Finlinson. He had 11 points. He was one of 4 guys who had 11 points. Take it in, take it in, take it in. There you go. Oh, almost. Oh. Oh. Got it, and one! The guy who led UH was Dre Bullock,
yes!
He did really well as well. And I didn't really see much things that they needed to improve on. That's UH men's basketball I'm talking about, because that had to have been one of the most complete games on both ends that I had seen in a long, long time. I mean, it does feel like a long time when you consider last year they were losing games left and right after winning 3 of the first 5 in conference play and didn't even qualify for the Big West tournament. But still, to put on a performance like they did, 98-46 over a D2 school, it's granted it is a local squad and an intra-island rival, that's a big, big, big turn of events when you look at how last year in an exhibition matchup at UH-Hilo at a Fuchinen Auditorium, UH won by the skin of their teeth, and their turnover numbers were really, really high. I think over 20 that time last year, but they still came away with the win. This time, how many turnovers did they commit? Only 6. 2 after the first half, 4 in the second half. And that's really, really good. If they can apply that to conference play, look out, because this team will make a lot of statements when they go back to conference play. And like I said before, if UH can apply this, I have a feeling that some of these droughts that they've been under with some teams like Santa Barbara and Irvine are going to come to an end. It is their final season in the Big West before they move to the Mountain West. And I'm sure that Aaron Hunkin-Claytor and the guys want to end this Big West tenure with a real bang. And what kind of bang would that be if they come away with the Big West tournament title? Because they would end up going to the dance, and for them to possibly win it, I have a good feeling that a ton of people around the country are going to want to come to the University of Hawaii and continue that winning legacy. Last year was pretty much a rebuilding year. Granted, we did lose over 80% of our scoring squad from 2 seasons ago. But obviously, what can you do? But still, I'll take this performance for sure. And I hope that they can apply that to conference play when they do go back. And their next game will be against UTEP. And that was the team that Bernardo da Silva had his breakout game in the Diamond Head Classic in 2019. And from that point on, Bernardo asserted himself as a regular on the starting roster. And seeing him put in great performances from that point on, and maybe an occasional bad one, it still cemented Bernardo's legacy as one of the greatest pickups of all time, at least in his role anyway. Make no mistake, but this squad is going to be special. Make no mistake about it. The only thing I really hope is that we don't end up with a big exodus like what we saw last year with the transfer portal, where we lost about half a dozen players, almost maybe. But granted, one had a change of heart and came back here, and that was Gytis Nemeikša. And I thought Gytis did really well in this game as well. He was the second leading scorer behind Dre Bullock. And for Gytis to have that kind of a performance, especially going into a game against UTEP, or at least an opponent like UTEP, that's the kind of performance that someone like Gytis really, really needed to assert himself as a major threat. Is he going to be that sixth man off the bench? I'm not sure. I do think that some others have really proven that, mainly Isaiah Kerr and Isaac Finlinson. But still, as far as their own roles are concerned, Gytis in his role has proven to be a good sixth man in his own right. Make no mistake. And for him to have that waiver approved and get the okay to come back for a second senior year is great. Is it all the difference in the world? Not all of it, but it sure made a big difference for sure. I'm not saying that that having Gytis back was what we really needed, especially after a bad turnover in the off season with so many guys entering the portal and guys seeing their minutes fluctuated and all. But still, for Gytis to come back, that's going to make a big difference for sure. And we're seeing it right now. I do think that Gytis will have a game where he leads the scores by a long shot, like how Isaac Johnson has had at least twice this season. And Isaac, I thought, didn't play that bad. He didn't really see a lot of action. But the one thing I didn't mention about Isaac Johnson, I had made a bet that he was going to make every free throw for the rest of the season. Unfortunately, that's out the window because he missed one against Cal State Fullerton, which is unfortunate, but still, don't doubt that Isaac Johnson is not going to have another game where he's perfect from the free throw line. But I think at that time, Hilo kind of knew that Johnson was their best free throw shooter. And that's scouting. Everybody scouts. And I really hope that Isaac that Big Fish doesn't have his lunch handed to him, so to speak. But I'm very certain that's not going to happen because he's too good of a player to have something like that happen to him. Make no mistake. He will have his breakout performance, and his breakout performances. And for this team as a whole, I'm starting to come under the impression of if they don't win, I don't know how they didn't win because I'm sure they worked harder than anybody else out there. Make no mistake. That's how good I think that this team is going to be this year. And for moving to another conference, recruitment is certainly going to help out because if they were into one of the other conferences with that really the NCAA kind of shows that they don't really give a crap about, that can kind of hurt your recruiting off and on. But still, you can still get some good players from the portal, or you could end up with some guys that you'll have to groom little by little who may not be the sharpest tools in the shed, but they can be if they groom them. Make no mistake about that. So, like I said, I would give this game a definite A+ for sure. And it may be a Division II opponent, but you got to take all the momentum that you can get. Now, granted, UH had a really good performance, a performance similar to this one against Life Pacific in the Rainbow Classic last year, where they committed only 5 turnovers in the entire game. And that was pretty much a runaway. But then again, they're an NAIA school. And granted, their talent level is a little bit less. They're still a team that you can't take lightly, just like with UH-Hilo. And Manoa certainly did not do that. And to see them win by that much, 52 points, I was almost convinced that winning by big margins like that, by 20 or 30 at least, against your local D2 rivals, I thought that those days were long over, and winning by 10 or 15 was becoming the new norm. But now I think that they've really found themselves, and despite losing Tanner Cuff, this team's legit. If you haven't been to a game like I have this season, you're missing out for sure. Believe the hype, people. This team is going to be a team that is really going to leave you with a ton of smiles on your face this season. Make no mistake. I haven't been this thrilled about UH men's basketball in at least 2 or 3 years. But to see this kind of talent, it's been about 10 years, but still, I'll take it anytime. Make no mistake. And that's where I'll leave it. I do think that this team will do some great things this year. There isn't the Diamond Head Classic this year, but still, I do think that this team is going to be the team to beat. Make no mistake. And I really hope that some of these droughts against some of the front runners in the Big West are going to come to an end. So that's where I'll leave it. And anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And remember, subscribe. I'll see you all after the UTEP game. And after that, we'll have the rest of December off, and UH will go on the road and return back to conference play against UC Riverside on New Year's Day. So thanks, guys. Subscribe, and I'll see you all again. Malama Pono, folks.